So a lot of companies that are founded during a recession, they actually end up becoming some of the greatest companies overall. Because when you are founded during a recession, you are lean and mean, you are tested, um, battle tested, and you also have to learn the skills to grow during a time where it's very difficult. So there's a lot of skills that you're going to acquire during this time that is going to help you in your entire career. Now, I know this because I went through my own recession in 2007, 2008, which was really, really hard. I mean, at the time I was just started working for my father, and he had a fishing business, a fishing supply, and but a lot of the money came from doing sport fishing trips, you know. But as soon as the recession hit, that sport fishing stopped because, frankly, it was an expensive habit. And a lot of people, during a recession, leisure activities are the first thing to go. So, it was definitely a rude awakening. It was extremely painful. It was, um, we basically lost all our income. Um, my money, my personal money, just disappeared. It was really, 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 really difficult. And it was just, um, you know, sorry, are you hearing that noises, by the way? Okay. It was really difficult, but I learned a lot of lessons from it, so that's what we're going to go over today. Um, when, I was scrolling through my Facebook feed, and it was really funny because you could actually see, thank you, Jeremy, for your feedback. You could actually see in real time, I could see like my ignorance, and like when it hit me that I was like, whoa, this is like a big issue. Because I think, you know I mean, it was like what, November when the first case happened, and here we are in March, at the end of March, and we still have people debating how serious to take this. I mean, it's a little mind blowing. And people were just kind of lightweight making jokes and whatnot. And then for me, when it really hit was when I started seeing all the um, people in Italy dying, and it's really sad. And because they were just like us, they were literally just, oh yeah, it's not going to stop me. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to go out. And meanwhile, nobody realized that during this whole time, for like 3 months, we were just out and about spreading this disease all over the world. I mean, this disease has touched all 50 states. And I'm sorry, but a disease does not get from China to all 50 states unless it had been going around for months without anybody realizing. Okay. Now, y'all know I don't get into politics. I'm actually quite independent myself, and I have friends on both sides of the aisle. I don't really judge anybody on either side. So I'm not here to play the blame game. I'm not here to get into all that. I'm just talking about the facts and the situation that we're facing right now. Okay. Um, so when this got serious, and when I realized this was serious, first thing I did was I was anxious. I got anxious. I was upset. But pretty quickly I realized, you know what? This is the time that I'm going to be tested. I'm going to come out stronger because of it, and this is the time that I'm going to grow. Because I do study business and entrepreneurship. I do know that, again, companies that are founded during recessions are a lot stronger than companies that are founded during, the good times. And so I took this as a personal challenge to level up my skills and to become more strong, and just to become a better entrepreneur, better business person, better human being, hopefully. And the truth is that during recessions, most people panic and they contract and they run. That's why you see panic selling on the stock market. And they always tell you not to do that because in the end, it's going to go back up. And so the people who are panic selling, they lose all their value. Whereas if they just held on, then they would be able to have even more value afterwards. Right. And so the same thing is with our own capital in terms of our businesses. Um, and I watched a video from the channel Valuetainment, and he was talking about how businesses are affected during recession. And one thing he said that really stuck with me is he said during a recession, heroes will rise. And I really took that to heart, and I realized that that is who I'm going to have to be. I'm going to have to become my own superhero because I have people that depend on me and I have no other option. So it's got to happen, and that means being very flexible, being very aggressive with your work activities. But most importantly, it involves being calm, okay? Because you're hearing all this negative information, you're watching people lose their business, you're losing business, and it's very easy to panic. But the problem is when you panic, you cut off any opportunity for yourself to make the wise decision. Okay, you have to stay calm. Now, staying calm is something that's easy to say, but it actually is something that you have to develop skills, and you have to build these skills by learning different tricks and tips. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. So for this session, we're going to definitely focus mostly on the mental aspect and then some activities that you need to do to get started, um, because that is where it all begins. Okay. Now, I think that there's different areas that we're going to have to go into. Um, but let's focus first on, well, let's go into the overview on your game plan, and then I'll go into these calming exercises. Okay. All right. So number one, first thing you have to do to survive this situation is you have to understand your situation. Okay. What you don't want to do is you don't want to just go out and start doing random things, not really having a clear picture of where you are. Okay. Now, these are the areas that I mapped out for myself that I had to understand. Okay. Number one, what is my financial situation? Number two, what is the situation with my family? Number three, what are my habits? Okay. Because our habits really affect our outcome and our performance. Now, as we're growing as business people, our habits start slowly developing with us. But in a time of recession, you got to really, really get these habits under control. Okay. And then you want to know what your goals are. Okay. Because everybody's in a different situation, they have to know their goals. So let's get into this more specifically. All right. So with the financial situation, you have to. Oh, by the way, if somebody could take notes, that would be great. We could share that, circulate it afterwards along with the video. If somebody wants to volunteer, let me know. That would be great. I would really appreciate it. Obviously, I can't take notes while we're doing this. Um, okay, step one is in terms of your financial is if you don't already have a budget, you have to have a budget created, your monthly budget. So you just literally go down the list, make a spreadsheet of everything that you have to pay monthly, and I'll share with you mine, um, and the due dates and the amounts. Okay. Now, one mistake a lot of people make is they just make one monthly budget and they just kind of set it and forget it. But actually, you have to be reviewing your budget every month, and you have to know what the bills are for this month, what the bills are going to be for next month, and 3 months, let's say 2 months minimum, but 3 months is good. And the reason why is because, especially as a freelancer, oh, thank you, Morgan. Amazing. Love you. So, if you don't know what your bills are month to month, then you are going to get in trouble. I used to make the mistake where I just, I had a list of my bills. I thought I did the job, but then I would always be short of money somehow. Or, I would not factor in the timing on paying, the people that were working for me. So now I have my set list of expenses, but I always do at least 2 months of expenses for those months specifically, because that way you know where you are. Because, for instance, you might think you're good this month, but then you realize, oh, next month I'm going to have to pay all these extra bills, and you have a better gauge on where you're at financially and how much work you might have to do, or what how much more you're going to have to charge, or clients you're going to have to get. So you have to really understand your financial situation. So Um, Doing research on that is really important. But in a nutshell, understanding your financial situation is listing your monthly bills, your debts, right? Then what you want to do is you want to figure out everything you can cut. Okay, that's just common sense financial advice. Um, you want to know everything you can cut. If you have any expenses that are not essential, you're going to have to cut them out. Okay, especially now. This is time to get lean. I just freaking canceled my Netflix. When it runs out, I'm actually joining with one of my best friends. We're going to have the same Netflix account. We're going to split the cost. So we save a little bit of money there. I was just looking through my cell phone bill and I was wondering, should I switch carriers? Um, really look at it and ask yourself, do I need this to survive? If the answer is no, then you're going to cut it. You could always add it later. Trust me, they will always take your money later. But for now, you need to be lean and mean. You have to think of yourself as living in the middle of a Great Depression, because if you do that now, no matter how bad it gets, you're going to be better off. Okay? Um, Also, what you want to do with your financial situation is you need to figure out, if you have money saved, how long are you going to survive? Right? If you don't have money saved, then you're going to have to figure out how much money you need per month. Okay. This is really important. Now, it's stressful. It was stressful for me doing this, to be honest. I didn't want to look at it. I mean, sometimes you don't want to face it. Um, and I wasn't excited to do it, but I did it because it was completely necessary. So you want to understand the situation, okay? Next, know what your family situation is. Do you have people that depend on you? Do you have people that depend on you financially, emotionally? What are your relationships like? Are you going to have to help somebody? Are you going to have to be there? Are you going to have to give more time to somebody? Um, you know, there's a lot of personal um, or individual situations that go with that. If you're young and you live by yourself and you have no responsibilities, more power to you. You know, that's great. If you have a family that you're supporting, then obviously they're going to be on top of mind for you. But the point is, you want to just write down what is your family situation. Just write it out. Okay. A lot of these things is just important to write out because you actually get peace of mind knowing where you are and what it is. Because if you can describe it to yourself, then you can actually move to the next phase where you start coming up with solutions and options for yourself. Okay. It's really hard to come up with an effective solution for yourself in any area of life if you don't even know how to describe where you are at. Okay. Next thing you want to do is you want to understand what your habits are, good and bad. So just take a piece of paper, write down two sides, and then you just literally say, what are my habits, good and bad? Okay. Um, for me, my bad habits are that I eat a lot outside. I tend to eat whatever I want, which is a lot of unhealthy food sometimes. Um, I I don't know if it's a bad habit, but I was smoking weed. I mean, that might be debatable, but I think it's bad for at this moment because I don't want to spend money on it, and so I stopped. And also, I just want to always have a clear head because I need my brain power 24/7. So if it's a matter of using recreational drugs to relax or whatever, you're just gonna have to do something else like exercise or whatever. Um, Another bad habit that I have is that I like to, or let me put it this way in context, habits that are bad for this situation, right? So, another bad habit that I had was I'm restless. So, I tended to, do a lot of work in cafes, or I just wouldn't want to work at home or work at my studio. And I just like to be around people. I'm like, oh, well, I don't get to be around people now because it's a pandemic. So, I stopped that pretty early. Um, what else? What else did I list? Buying like little things, books, entertainment, things like that. I cut that out. Just anything that's going to cost me money or time or energy, I'm cutting it out. Okay, gone. And it's crazy. In the past week or week and a half since I've been quarantined, I lost 5 pounds. I haven't smoked. Oh, that was the other big one. Gaming. So I recently got hooked on this game called Apex Legends. And it was really taking a lot too much time. I mean, because I don't have any time to spend on it, right? So I just deleted it. But I kept reinstalling it and deleting it, reinstalling it, deleting it. And then I realized, okay, I need to take this out of my hands. Extreme times, extreme measures. I literally had one of my friends come over. He put in some code in my computer and blocked the URL, so I cannot connect to the server. So for me to play that game, I would have to literally reformat my whole computer, and I refuse to do that. So I have not played since then. Now it's a little embarrassing, but hey, this. I'm just being. You guys know how my style is. I keep it real, and I'm just honest, and I'm really open, and that's what it was. That was one of my big major bad habits was gaming in the past couple months, and I think a lot of it was just a coping mechanism for stress, but also the game was just ridiculously fun because I you know have not been hooked like that in a long time. Hey, what's up, Mr. Cohen? Now, if you're okay, here's the thing. If you can play in short pieces, um, Bachelor, you're so funny, Morgan. Um, I actually think entertainment is fine during times like this for stress relief and kind of blowing some steam off. But internally if you have crossed the line where it is actually a bad habit versus something that is actually just enjoyable. Like if you're playing Fortnite with your son, I'm not going to say that's inherently bad because number one, you're spending time with your son, right? And you're connecting and you are having some sort of release, right? But I wasn't doing it like that. Okay. I was literally playing like until like 5 a.m. Like I would like rush to get whatever work for a client that I had to get done. I wasn't doing any extra like business building stuff that I should have, and I was just gaming, and I'd be tired the next day, and then my performance would suck, and I was like, "Whoa, this is not good." I mean, it brought me back to like college days. So you really have to get a grip on your habits. So you want to list them out, okay? So you got to face it, frontal face these fears. But on the other column, you're going to write your good habits, okay? And the reason why is because those are the things that you're going to lean into, and those are the things that are going to give you strength. So, for instance, for me, I love people. I love connecting with people. Um, Somebody's talking. Who's that?
Dude, 6 feet apart, man.
Six feet. I thought it was 6 inches.
Who is that? 6 inches? What's going on here?
Barely.
Hold on, maybe I should mute this channel.
But your wife says you have a great personality.
Dude, I do.
Let me mute this.
That's probably how to get her drunk. Get married.
Except I got it.
There we go. All right, sorry about that. So yeah, basically, another good habit that I have is that when times are stressful, when I'm challenged with something stressful, I tend to try and find a way to actually grow from it, to either add skills or build more inner strength, experience, whatever it is. Hold on. So, another good habit that I have is that I tend to come up with new ideas pretty easily. So I took this as a challenge to basically figure out how to remap my business, how to remap Videography Academy, how to pivot, and how to go with the flow. I definitely tend to adjust with the times. I definitely believe it's an important skill to be fluid and not get set in your ways. So I can definitely switch directions when I need to. One of my friends a long time ago, he said that I'm like a Tasmanian devil. Like whatever direction I go in, I go like 100 miles an hour. So that's something I'm going to lean into. last thing that you're going to list to understand your situation are your goals. Okay. What are your goals? Are they financial? Are they more portfolio driven? Are you in a place where you have savings so you can learn? The basically the main goals that I see is that either you need to make money, right? A certain amount of money per month, or you have money and you just want to build your portfolio, or let's say you have a steady job and you just want to build your portfolio, um, or you want to learn and gain experience, right? Or you just want to connect. So figuring out what your goals is really important. Now, if your goal is financial, you definitely need to write a number for how much you want to make per month. That is really, really important because if you don't know what the goal is, you don't know how far you are from it. Now, that's why writing down your budget and your monthly bills is a really useful thing for figuring out what your goals need to be, right? Next is our time management guide. What we need to talk about is how are you spending your time? Okay. Um, it's easy to get trapped in a situation where you're staying at home and you're not keeping track of your time. And that is really bad for you because you are going to look up and realize that your whole day was spent without any kind of progress. So for me, because I have like ADHD, it's easy for me to get off track and go in different directions, go down different rabbit holes. So I created an ideal schedule for the day. So I'm going to share that with you. So basically, this is my daily schedule, which I will share with y'all. And what it says is that based on waking up at 9 a.m., to going to sleep at 2 a.m. That is my ideal schedule. Okay, I'm a night owl. Actually, I got really screwed up this past week. I went back to my vampire hours. I was like sleeping at 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. and that was not good. But so for me, I mean, I would like to wake up earlier, like ideally earlier than 8 9. But if I'm up till 2 or 3 a.m., I mean, it just doesn't make sense for me to wake up at 6 or 7 or 8 even. Now I do try to wake up earlier if possible, but 9 a.m. is like my bare minimum. Like if I'm not up by 9, I am upset. Um, and what I do is I just have time blocks, right? And during these time slots, in an ideal scenario, that doesn't mean I have to do it every day, but let's say I could do anything I want. In an ideal scenario, this is basically what I'm doing. Yes, time blocking is really important. So 9 a.m. I wake up, I work out or move. Working out, I'm not really that good at working out, so I'm just talking about doing a little stretching or push-ups. Or actually, what I've been doing is when I wake up, because also just to get in a good mood and get my brain in the right place, I just put on music and I dance. You know what I mean? Just get some moving, move my body. Um, then 10 a.m. I eat, I review my day, I write, I just think anything creative. And then from 11 to 12, I just research and I strategize. Okay, I'll surf the internet strategically. I'll look up topics that I want to learn, and I really figure out what it is that I want my subconscious to start working on. Okay, and the reason why I do that early in the morning is because once the day starts going, your brain is going to get busy, and I try to plant this stuff in my head early. Okay, 12 o'clock, lunch, walk, and reflect. Thinking is really important. Okay. Then I have a time block from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. where it just says execute. I just execute. Whatever it is for that day that I'm supposed to do, I just do it. Okay. Then 7 p.m., dinner. And then 8 p.m., walk again and reflect. And the reason why is it's important to have some time to yourself, just to yourself. Okay. We're going to get into social media and stuff like that. But one thing I want to say is that a danger you have to pay attention to is that because we are home all day, it is easy to fill up your brain with noise from Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and it's all noise. Like, imagine if you're going throughout your day and somebody was sitting next to you and they were just talking to you all day. You would flip out. I mean, you would go crazy. Now, imagine 100 people are talking to you all day at the same time. That's what's happening when you're on social media, okay? I'm going to teach you how to navigate social media in a more mindful way. And then again, from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m., just execute. Anything that has to do with what I call MMAs, money making activities. That's my acronym. So I just write in these two big time blocks, MMAs. Just work on MMAs, whatever it is. Okay. And then at 1 a.m., I review my day, what happened. I review the next day. I do a little bit of drawing or studying. And then for the last hour of the day, I wind down, which is basically reading, um, whatever it is. Not surfing the internet, because that is not winding down. I mean, there's so many studies that show how bad it is for your brain to be looking at your phone, or being on social media in the last couple hours of your day. You really don't want to do that. Our brains are not made for that, and it actually creates a negative feedback loop that leads into the next day. So that's why it's really important to wind down. And yes, Jeremy, don't worry, we're all guilty of it. I've been going down many rabbit holes this past week. I've had to really reset myself. I made the schedule before the pandemic, so I realized like, oh, I need to get back to it. Now, one of the last things I do actually in the last hour is what I call pre-programming my mind. Okay, because as you might know, as you sleep, your brain will work on problems, right? So whatever you put in your head before you go to sleep is going to be what your subconscious works on. Okay, which is really, 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 really important to know that. Um, because what I do is I actually pre-program my mind by reading a statement, a list of things that I want to just put in my head. Okay, and I'll actually show you the list as well. So, so some of these are like positive affirmations, or some of these are just things that I want to remember, like lessons I want to learn, habits I want to build. So I have it actually on a clipboard that I literally have on the wall next to my bed. So I just pick it up and look at it. So um, one of this, I'll just read random ones that I said. I accept ultimate responsibility over my life and use that to empower me to succeed and enjoy life. I work incredibly hard every hour without fatigue. That said, I pay attention to my energy levels so I can optimize. I trust my instincts and listen carefully to my inner voice. I play the game my way. I work harder than I ever imagined I would have to. If it sucks, I'm doing it. That's one I got from David Goggins, that Navy SEAL guy. I say no to everything outside of my focus. I am mindful of what goes in my body, my mind, and soul at all times. Uh, I finish the last 10% to be good and the last 1% to be great. I never, ever, ever, ever give up. I treat every day as a wonderful opportunity. I discuss issues with people early and often. I follow through on who I am. I trust my instincts, but do not act in haste. So these are just things that are like, for me personally, it's just reminders of things that I want to do. Oh, you guys, Chase is asking if you can't see the live. Oh, Chase, you have to be in the Twitch. I don't know if you're in the Twitch channel. You guys obviously can see, right? See me? Okay. Yeah, I mean, so what Morgan said about solving a math problem in your sleep, it's real. I mean, Einstein, even what he would do is he would think about a problem and then go to sleep. I mean, there's multiple people who are high achievers have talked about this. That's how I learned it. So again, that's why you want to wind down at the end of the day. Do not be on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, none of that, because it's garbage. It's not good for you to be consuming that in the last hour to 2 hours of your day, because you need that space for yourself. Okay. If you instead fill that with relaxation, maybe a little Fortnite, for like a half hour or something. I don't know. But if you fill that with pre-programming, then guess what? you're going to start building those into habits. Now, something somebody said to me that is really important that you know is that um, bad habits are easy to create instantly. Good habits are built over time. Okay. So a lot of times we beat ourselves up because we feel like we have this goal, like we're supposed to um, be somebody different as if it's a light switch or something that you could just will yourself into doing. No, no, no. What I've learned is it doesn't matter how much you want to be different, how angry you get, or how willful you are. It only happens, true change at the core level only happens over time through repetition. So that's why this pre-programming guide has really been really effective for me because um, again, I just read it before I go to sleep. I'll even read it when I wake up sometimes. And the main point is that it adds up in a positive way. So that brings me back to my next point in the pandemic game plan, which is that you need to map your mind and reset your brain. Okay. You need to really just start writing out all the things that you are, that you aren't, that you want, that you don't want. And really, really, really just kind of figure out how to reset it. Okay. Next is you want to really focus your energy. And the way to do that is once you have written your goals down, you just ask yourself, is this thing that I'm thinking about or working on or doing, is it connected to my goal? If it's not, don't do it. Okay. Uh, Next, you want to defeat your anxiety. Okay. Now we're going to go into that towards the end with the different tools and exercises I'm going to give you, but you really need to do it. I mean, anxiety is going to cripple you if you let it. But if you have certain tools and tricks and hacks that you do, then you will defeat it and you will rise above it. Okay. Now, another thing you want to do is make a business plan. We're going to go over that in the next workshop. Um, but again, this is more kind of a general overview and kind of a mentality set. All right, here we go. Here is the big important part that I want to talk about. Right now, as they say, we're not just in a pandemic, we're in an infodemic. There's so much content out there, so much misinformation. It is toxic. Okay. Um, I've fallen for it. Um, but when I realized it, I started making some rules for myself. Okay. Because the thing is that it just adds to your anxiety. Now, I want to say, where does anxiety come from? It comes from a feeling of helplessness, right? When you are thinking about a situation that you do not have control over or there is uncertainty, it creates anxiety. Okay. And when you're reading all this stuff, because everybody's home, everybody's out, the trolls, the bots, the hackers, you know, bad people out there just spreading tons of misinformation, and it's compounded by all of your friends not thinking about what they're sharing and just sharing emotionally. Okay. And I started doing that, but actually I made some rules and I changed it. So what you want to do is you want to avoid all negative things for this entire pandemic and maybe for the rest of your life. Okay. Negative content, negative people, and negative conversations. Now, it's really easy for people to commiserate, to sit and start complaining and start feeling like you're connecting with somebody because you're complaining together. But guess what? It's not positive. It's not constructive. It's not going to help you. If somebody starts going down that route with you, just change the subject, find something else to talk about, be positive, ask questions or make comments that lead to more positive trains of thoughts. It's really important. I can't express to you how important it is. I have suffered from anxiety for years, on and off. I've definitely learned to deal with it much better. This pandemic actually almost triggered it again because I was just listening to YouTube video after YouTube video of terrible news and just, I mean, it's just not good for you. Okay. Um, and so I figured out also, you don't want to share negative content either. Okay. And I figured out a really, really, really simple rule for myself to figure out what I click on and what I don't click on is if the headline upsets you, don't click it. Okay. It's really that simple. Just ask yourself, how does this headline make me feel? If the headline already upsets you or aggravates you or antagonizes you in any way, do not click on it because it is not going to make it better in any way. It's just going to make it worse. Okay? Focus only on educational content. Only do things that are going to either inform you in a positive way or just make you feel better. Okay? Also, don't read half information, okay? Because we're getting like the real time feedback of our entire society right now, and there's all these developing situations that are actually important to understand. But do not read it if it's developing. Wait until it has developed. I'll give you an example. They're talking about the stimulus plan, right? Obviously, we all want that stimulus money, but when I read an article and I realized like, oh, they haven't even approved it yet. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop clicking on those links because until they've actually passed it and the rules are set and we know exactly what's going to happen with it, I don't need to know it because it's not in my control. Um, Conspiracy theories, definitely don't read those. I mean, those have nothing to do with your business, with your success. Anything that is out of your control, there's why? I mean, there's no reason to consume it. It's garbage for you. It's not just garbage, it's harmful for you. Okay. And you always want to reframe your situation. So you want to really, really figure out, um, again, people see the same situation and come to different conclusions. One person sees a recession and sees the end of their life. Another one sees an opportunity for a new one. Okay. That's why when I realized how important this was, that was one of my first thoughts was like, how am I going to come out on top from this? How am I going to become a better person? How am I going to be a better business person? How am I going to help you guys? Frankly, because I know you guys are stressed out too. So I just reframed it. And now, what helps sometimes is what I call positive triggers. Um, Things that you can do or activities that you can do that are going to make you feel good and that are going to make people around you feel good, right? So, helping people, joining communities. One good thing about this pandemic I've noticed is that actually it's easier than ever to connect with people online. I mean, some of the people I've been connecting with, I thought I would never get a chance to reach out to or talk to. People have been reaching out to me that I haven't talked. I mean, literally, I talked to somebody that I had not talked to in 20 years. That they just randomly reached out to me. So you want to definitely start joining communities, not just the video communities, but other communities, interests that you have, communities that your potential clients are in. Just start connecting with people, talking, getting information. You're going to really learn a lot from that. Another thing that is really positive trigger is helping people. One of the first things that I did when I realized this was really serious and they were talking about all the elderly people that are susceptible to this, I started a small GoFundMe to raise money to get masks to distribute to them. Um, it was just something I was compelled to do. And I felt really good by the outpouring of support I got and the people that I got to connect with because of it, and the new people I met. And it made me feel good because I was focused on helping other people instead of focused on the stress of my situation. And I'm doing the same thing here with y'all. I mean, I'm doing these workshops live for free because I know you need the help, um, and it makes me feel good. So why not? Um, Now, one thing I have noticed, by the way, there is an actual positive splashback for helping people, because I got so much support for that GoFundMe I started. What I noticed was an unintentional benefit is that now when I put a Facebook post out, so many people respond to it. So, for instance, I'm starting a business to go after the cannabis industry, and I asked for people to recommend companies that I could work with, and so many people responded, so many more people than have ever responded to my general posts that are about me. And it was because they had seen what I was doing in the community and how I'm trying to help people. So naturally, they want to help me more. So it's just the way it goes. I don't know. I mean, I think you should try it. Just try it. Because the problem is, a lot of time. I mean, with this situation, a lot of people, all they're all worried about their businesses, but the people who are just going me, 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 help my business, help me, they're not really getting that much support. But if you are helping other people first and providing value, and then asking for help, they're going to give it to you. So, last thing again, I'm going to say ignore what is out of your control. If it is not in your control, freaking ignore it. Ignore it. Ignore it. Ignore it. Ignore it. You can only focus on the things that you can control. Please. This is good advice in general in life, but when it comes to pandemics, recessions, all that stuff, all the good advice that you hear for life, it becomes even more valuable in these circumstances. Okay, so please ignore what is outside of your control, because all that stuff does is just give you more anxiety. Okay, so last I'm going to get right into the calming exercises. Okay, these are all different things that I've learned over the years and I've tried, and they all work. So, just pick and choose, decide what, try different things and see what works for you. Okay, number one, when you are feeling anxious, move. Okay, take a walk. Even if you're not a walker or you don't like walking, walk. Now I know we're not supposed to be out kind of for the pandemic. I went outside and walked at 2 a.m. last night when there was not a mouse out. Or exercise, do something, dance, swing your arms, whatever it is, just move, because what people don't realize is that your mind follows your body. So anybody who has exercise, they know that when you work out and you get to a certain point in your workout, it totally clears your brain and it refreshes you. So if you are working out and you like working out, then awesome. If you don't, if you're like me, that you don't actually really like it that much, learn to do it in little bits. Yeah, I mean, even like I'll do, like when I'm feeling kind of weird and funky, I'll just do like 10 push-ups, which is like nothing, right? But I feel a little better. Move. Okay. Now, one hack that I've discovered is that if you don't like exercise, just watch a YouTuber, because if you have to do it yourself, you're not going to do it. But if you're following somebody, it's much easier to do. You just type in 10-minute exercise, 10-minute stretch, 10-minute cardio, 10-minute breathing, 10-minute meditation, whatever it is. Just, there's so many people out there, and just do it. Just watch them. Okay. Another thing that you could do is you got to learn to breathe. Okay. You could do this. You could lay down. Now, this is different from meditation, because I know with meditation, there's a lot. I mean, meditation is amazing, first of all. If you get into it, it will change your life. But especially like when I first started, I was just like everybody else, like, oh, I can't meditate. I get even more uncomfortable, and you get really anxious, and you start feeling like your body is like tearing itself apart from the inside just because you're trying to be still. But that actually shows how much discomfort there and anxiety there is inside of you. But when I first started, what I realized is, instead of focusing on meditation, because there's many different types of meditation, and people think it's all about like the mind and stuff, but what I realized is that if you just focus on your breathing, then that's going to help you relax. So what I do, and you can look up breathing exercises. Um, I just breathe slowly, like that, and just do that like 10 times. Do it 20 times. Do it 100 times. If you do 100 times, you're going to feel amazing by the end. You can count them. Now, one thing that I want to say is, when you're doing this type of exercise, feel free to let your mind wander. I think a misconception with meditation, or why people resist, is they think they have to somehow control their mind. It's really difficult to control your mind. So just let it wander, to be honest. Even if you're being anxious and thinking anxious thoughts, just let your mind wander and just focus on the breathing, though. Keep bringing it back to the breathing. I guarantee you it's going to help you. Another hack, these are in no particular order, by the way. Another hack is watch a show or movie that you're familiar with. Studies have shown that when you watch something like a TV show that you grew up watching that you really love, it actually helps you feel better because you're familiar with it and you have like an emotional connection with it. So I grew up watching Friends. So sometimes when I'm feeling down, I'll just put on Friends because it just I loved it when I was growing up. Or Simpsons, or Seinfeld, or Big Bang Theory, or Parks and Rec, or The Office, or whatever show you want, whatever show you've already watched or movie you already watched that you're familiar with. Because the good thing is you can also kind of put it on in the background too if you want. But that definitely helps. Another thing that I've learned is focusing on the smaller things that you can control. Okay, a lot of times anxiety again comes from not being in control. So what I do is I really focus on something that I can control. Okay, now that could be as simple as organizing my closet, um, throwing away notes that I don't need anymore. Um, you know, Fixing something that has been in the house that you have been meaning to fix for a long time. Anything that you could do that you have control over that's small, just do it. It'll make you feel a little better because you're distracting yourself. Okay. Another thing is you make small gains in something. You could have personal goals, different things, and just make a really small gain. You don't have to change everything or achieve some amazing thing. Like, let's say, if you're trying to learn guitar, just learn a new chord. Learn one song that you wanted to learn. Anything small, a small gain, it's going to make you feel better. So again, this tiny goal, it equals a win. It makes you feel better. Another thing you do, which we're going to go into in another workshop, is what I call remembering your 2.0 version. So what you want to do is you want to map out, right, who you want to be in the next iteration of yourself, right? And you want to remember that person. You want to think about that person, okay? Because you're going to start kind of becoming that person, right? Projecting yourself in the future. Another thing that works is gratitude. So every day now I write 3 things in my notebook that I'm grateful for, and sometimes it's the same thing over and over again. Sometimes it's kind of silly or simple, but I just really think about what it is that I'm actually grateful for, that I'm happy that I have in my life, and I write it down. Okay. Another thing you could do physically is you could hug a pillow. Okay. Or you can have like weighted blankets. If you don't have like a weighted blanket, you can put stuff on the blanket. Something about the pressure. I mean, they actually sell weighted blankets now because they bring comfort to people. Something about that kind of helps you relax. I guess it goes back to the days when you were like cuddled, swaddled, and things like that. Um, I don't know. You could look that up. Another activity that I do sometimes, which I got from reading an article about Steph Curry, the basketball player, um, is what he does is when he's in game and things are getting tense, is he actually tightens up his whole body, right? So you want to like every part of your body that you can, you just squeeze it like really hard, like just tighten everything up, all your muscles, your chest, your hands, your forearms, your legs, your feet, just tighten it up as tight as you could go, like squeeze as hard as you can and then let go. And that's a trick that he learned from his coach because um, you're signaling to your body to let go of the stress. So you bring your body to the point of the highest tension and then you let it go and it helps you relax. Okay, so this is kind of what Steph does when he's in a situation where he needs to actually be relaxed to perform at his highest. So sometimes when I'm feeling really anxious in my body or whatever, I'll just tighten up, just really squeeze everything, hold it for a couple seconds, and then let go. And you can repeat it a couple times. Okay, another thing that's been proven to help you relax is just hug somebody that you care about if you can. Hug yourself if you have to. Um, Physical contact is a good thing. Um, if you have a loved one, be intimate with them. Another thing that I do when I'm feeling anxious is I'll just call someone and give them positivity. Again, I don't commiserate. I don't call them to complain about stuff or hear them complain about stuff. I mean, I'll definitely be an ear to listen to, but I don't want to get into this feedback loop where you're just talking about how terrible things and there's no solution. And the way to know that you're being unproductive is if you're talking about something negative, but it is not followed by something that is a solution or something positive to fix it, right? If you're just talking about something negative, it's not going to help you. So, but what I do is I call people and I'll just give them support. I'll just find out what's going on in their lives and give them some suggestions. It really helps to make that connection, especially now that we're, self quarantine and we're being separated. Humans are social animals, so you got to find ways to connect with people. Another thing is find something to love and invest in it. Um, Anything that a new hobby or a hobby you already have, or um, a relationship, whatever it is, really invest in it because again, as you grow from that, it helps add to the kind of mental fortitude. It distracts you from the stress and anxiety, and it's just another tool. Another thing is finding pleasure in little things. I'll give you an example. Um, this is a pen. It's a pen, a Japanese pen. This is like my favorite pen. I love pens. I love notebooks. Okay. I was cleaning my studio because I thought I had used all of mine, right? And I was like, oh, I can't go buy a new one because it's a pandemic. And I was kind of sad. And then I found this in my studio. It was brand new, unopened. It was like a little Easter egg that I had left for myself. And I was so happy. It's kind of silly how happy I was. You know what I mean? Um, but it genuinely made me feel better. And now when I look at it, like, I haven't even opened it because it just gives me pleasure to look at it. I mean, it's silly, but look, it makes me laugh, and that's the thing, is you want to find pleasure in little things, because if you could find happiness and joy in the little things in life, then it makes your life so much more enjoyable, and you can deal with things. Next thing you want to do, which is definitely going to probably have to be its own kind of like little mini course, is developing positive self-talk to combat negative thoughts. Now, we are evolved and hardwired to have to look for danger in the environment, to have a fight or flight response to things. But what you need to do is you need to recognize that you have a lot of negative self talk and thoughts in your head that are really creating more anxiety for you. You have to learn how to talk it out. So when I have a negative thought like, oh, I'm losing jobs, am I going to go bankrupt? Then instead of just stopping there, I'm like, I respond to myself. I'll even say it out loud if I have to. I'm like, no, no, no. You're gonna do what you are born to do, which is you're gonna step up. You're gonna lead. You're going to um, find a way through this, and you're gonna become better from it. Okay. So anytime you have negative self thought talk, you want to basically find a positive self talk that you are responding to it with. And you don't even have to believe it when you say it, because eventually you will. When I first started doing this, like, it seems so silly and it seems like dumb, but actually you have to do it because you have to fight your own demons. Okay. And you fight the darkness with light. Eventually it's going to become part of your muscle memory. So I don't even have to like say it out loud per se, but if I have a negative thought and I've recognized it, then basically I just um, turn it around. Okay. Next thing, connect with someone. Another one, find inspiration by identifying with a hero. So, for instance, watching a documentary on someone you admire, reading a biography. Just look at someone you admire and identify with them by finding the traits in them that you admire, and then aligning yourself with those traits, and you will start to exhibit them. Okay. Another thing that is really helpful is remembering who depends on you. Um, a lot of times, in times of stress, you will act stronger if it is for someone else. So when I get anxious, I just think about the people who actually depend on me in my family that I have to be strong for, and I become strong for them. Okay. Now, if you don't have anybody that actually depends on you, then you can remember your future self depends on you. Your future family, your future successful version of yourself, whatever it is, there are people that depend on you. Again, another one is read your programming guide. If you are getting stressed out, just read the statements that you need to be mindful of. And the last tip I have is when in doubt, just clean something, organize, clean your room, clean your space. It's definitely been proven that cleaning your space helps kind of keep the clutter out your mind. Um, and the only last tip I want to say is that the way to defeat anxiety is that you want to recognize it. So when you're feeling something, you want to recognize what you're feeling. You want to describe it to yourself. So if I'm feeling anxious, I'll stop and I'll say, oh, I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling anxious because of this. And then I ask myself, well, how do I want to respond? And that's based on the goals you have. Okay, how am I going to get to that goal? This is what I need to do. And now I've just given my mind a directive on actions to take to defeat my anxiety as opposed to just falling for it. So sometimes what I'll do is one tip I got is you just kind of picture like your anxiety is a balloon. So you like picture it, you see the color of it, you see the shape, and then you just like let it go and let it float away. Okay, seems kind of like hippy dippy or whatever, but these are just all different tips of things that I've learned that have been really helpful. Um, so this is something we're gonna go over. I'll send to you guys, which is basically your personal development plan. And these are basically what I've talked about, um, and it's gonna help you kind of figure out how to navigate this. Now, one key mentality tip that I have to wrap this up is that um, be really mindful of how you're feeling, what you're thinking of, what you're doing. Learn to describe it to yourself. And most importantly, anytime you have questions or confusion, you got to really learn to start researching. So, what I got really good at is anytime I have a problem or question, I'm good at just searching answers now. Um, because a lot of times I think we put this pressure on ourselves that we have to come up with the solution all on our own or something like that. It just doesn't work like that. All right, cool. So hopefully that was helpful. Next session, we're actually going to get right into the nitty gritty on the business stuff, which I know you're all um, definitely want to get into, but I had to get this stuff out the way. So but now is the time if you want to ask questions about anything. It doesn't have to be about these topics. It could be about your business, whatever. Let's just get into it. That's the whole point of these live mentorships. So if you want to throw it in the chat, whatever it is, let's go for it. You're very welcome. No problem, Jeremy. All right. So anybody have any questions, thoughts, concerns? Yay, Morgan! Thanks for taking notes. Let's see. I think what could be helpful too is if you have any questions for your business that you would want to. Okay, good. So Morgan, for first moving forward business stuff, what is the first step to take to pivot? All right, so I'm definitely going to get in. I'm going to actually make a guide for you guys. Um, but the first thing you have to do is you need to figure out, is your industry, the niche that you've chosen, if you've chosen one, how is it impacted by this recession? You got to do the research. If you, for instance, are in real estate and real estate is impacted because people can't go to homes, well, guess what? You're not going to be spending your time chasing down realtors during this recession because it just doesn't make sense. Okay. There's plenty of businesses and industries that are going to rise because of this recession, and you need to pivot and focus on those. So whatever preconceived notions you had on what you're going to look for, you're going to reassess it. Now, let's say, I know, for instance, Morgan, you're interested in the startup world. The startup world is actually still a good place to be in because they still need content, and what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to figure out how to pivot in terms of how you're going to change the offerings for them. So I've seen people, they're offering live streaming, which I don't think is actually the most long-term viable because how are you going to live stream if they don't want you in their building? Um, as the pandemic grows, I mean, you can expect a good 2 or 3 months of this to be before it hits the peak. And so you actually need to focus more on like, okay, what are these packages that you can offer that are digital or that are like animated or people you could partner with, or I was thinking like, oh, maybe a package is like you combine text animation or graphic templates from Envato, let's say themes with B-roll footage or something like that. We'll definitely get into that more, but first step is to reassess the industries that you're in, and also think maybe you're going to have to serve multiple verticals. Maybe I know I've always preached focusing on one niche first, but because we're kind of in really extraordinary times, you might have to come up with a couple verticals and really go after them all at one time. That would be easier if you're centralizing your product offering so that you could offer the similar type of products to everybody. But yeah. Okay, so how much do you? So Jeremy asks, do you have time? Do you take time off from being a professional? If so, how much time off has worked for you to reset? Okay, that's a very good question. So one of the first adjustments I had to make was realizing that because we are under attack for so much stressful information and content, and also just having to take care of your health more, I realized that whether I like it or not, I have to spend more time on my upkeep and my personal well-being than I would normally do when times are good. So for instance, on my daily schedule, I have like you know from 5 to 10 p.m., like 5 hours straight of working, and then I have from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. again of working. But that second block now is really more focused on just like learning, researching, doing things um, that are more lightweight than business development. And everybody's a little different, so you kind of have to feel for yourself, like start to recognize like what I'm getting good at now is I'm recognizing like, oh, my attention span is gone. So instead of like trying to force myself, let me just switch directions and then go into a different way. One tip that I learned um, is from the writer Kurt Vonnegut. He was like super prolific, right? He wrote articles, books, um, research papers, essays. I mean, he wrote incredible amounts, and somebody asked him like, how are you so prolific? And he said what he does is, instead of forcing himself to kind of stick with one thing, as soon as he gets stuck on something, he just switches to the next project. So all day he's just switching through projects so that it accumulates into this prolific amount of work. So for me, I kind of follow the same thing where I try to stick to my time block. Like, let's say I want to give myself an hour or 2 hours to work on something. If I really lose my focus, then I'll just move on to the next thing, because we all have endless lists of things that we could do. And yes, agreeing with your wife to set your phones down for at least an hour a day, that's a great start. I would say that uh, setting up triggers for yourself that tell you that you have to put your phone down. Obviously, for instance, when you wake up, the first thing you do should not be looking at your phone. I don't look at my phone when I wake up until after I have moved, I've taken a shower, at least 30 minutes after I wake up, whatever, even more. During eating, do not look at your phone while you're eating. That's another trigger that you shouldn't be looking at your phone. And again, the last hour of the day, definitely, definitely do not look at your phone at least. Okay, budgeting. How do I calculate the average budget when the creative industry fluctuates? Okay, so that is a very good question. We are in an industry where our budgets are always fluctuating. It's very difficult to manage sometimes. So what I do is I have two budgets. I have two sections of my budgets. Sorry, it shows I'm dropping frames. Hopefully, me, but um, I have my set monthly budget that change, whether it's car payment, phone, rent, all that stuff. And then I have my second budget, which is related to the things that are. So that's why I try to say these are my month one and my month two, because how that helps you stay in the middle is it'll make you reassess some of the activities. I've invested a lot of time and money into other projects that have nothing to do with business. And when this pandemic started, I was like, okay, those are all going away for the time being. It's my business and me, and that's it. That's just the way it's going to be. Um, the simple truth, though, Chase, is that uh, saving is the key. Being like a maniac about saving every penny you can is really important, because the way to defeat fluctuations. It's just there's no other answer than saving money, because when you have bills that you can't expect, you out, you know. So getting really good at saving, that means not investing in equipment that you don't need, um, questioning every expense, all that stuff. Saving is really important, and if you don't have a savings, then really it's really about um, developing rules for yourself so that as you grow your business, you're going to put all your energy into making income, and that you don't change your expenses along with your income. Because one mistake I made is that anytime I made more money, I would just add more expenses to my life. I'll be like, oh, I could spend money on this, I could do that, and you got to stop it. You have to keep your set monthly budget and try to stick to it as tight as possible. All right, so there's some talk about subscription based pricing. That's fine. I think, a lot of it is just different lipstick on a pig. It's all how you present it. It really depends on your industry and your client. Some people call that a retainer model. Some say it's a prepaid package model. Same stuff. In the end, I'm going to definitely go over different pricing models, which subscription based could be one of those. But work if you are not talking to the right person who has the money to spend, interest to spend it, and you have properly connected the dots to why your and your products that you're offering is going to hit the spot for them, whether it's making them money, saving them time, getting them clients. So any type of model you pitch is always based on what are they going to get in return. So yeah, subscription based sounds good, because you could say, hey, if you sign up for like a monthly plan, then you will save money in the long run, because otherwise I would have to charge you, like, let's say for content, you could say, oh, I have to charge you like $5,000 per month. But if you were to sign up for a 3-month contract or a 6-month contract, then I could do it for 1,000. You know, um, so yeah, subscription based pricing is fine. What else? What else? Any other questions? Um, next workshop, we're going to definitely go over how to analyze your industry, how to um, plan for yourself, and how to set goals, and then what are some of the activities we need to do to get clients. Because now, after this, all the workshops are going to just be about getting clients, making money, because we know that that is what you need. I will probably send another email after with some sort of survey. So if you have any questions, you can ask it there, and it'll help me build the workshop. Um, but yeah, if anybody has any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, it's been a great session. I really appreciate your time, and we'll be back. And remember, hug your pillow. We got one more question. Would you recommend running ads to get clients even if you don't have much of a budget? I wouldn't, unless you are really good at running ads and you know how to get clients with a low budget. Don't do it. You need to save that money. Unless you for sure have enough savings where you could say, I'll survive for X number of months and I could afford to invest it as a learning experience. But it's just like they say with gambling, like never go to the casino with money that you can't afford to lose, right? Same thing with running ads. If you don't have the experience, do it if you can afford to, and if you're willing to use it as a learning experience, right? Um, but if you're actually depending on business and you don't have the experience, it's a very dangerous game. You could put yourself in a bad hole. I definitely, as Chase says, I've seen people make money with it, but I think that it takes time. And from what I've learned, the people who are actually making money with it, they have pretty heavy experience in that. And so Billy Jean is really good. So I like what he says. If you have his ad course, I think it just comes down to, again, are you able to experiment? Are you okay with it? I haven't taken his course. I would love to audit it actually, but I haven't taken his course. If he talks about how to start, because a lot of times they'll say, okay, you start with, $1 a day, $5 a day, $10 a day, or whatever, and you start testing. That's great. Um, the challenge is where a lot of people lose money is that when you have to scale it, okay? Because a lot of times in the testing phase, you're not going to get clients. So again, it just comes down to the fact if you can afford to try it, put aside some money, but emotionally, you have to separate yourself and be prepared that hey, if you don't get anything out of it, you just get some experience, okay? But if it's like, oh my gosh, my mortgage payment depends on me getting these clients, well, you'll benefit a lot more just learning straight up sales skills, which by the way, it's actually been easier to connect with people and talk to people than ever, through LinkedIn, through Facebook groups. um, just today I've already had 3 discovery calls, with different cannabis companies, and I have another one after this workshop, um, because that's a new vertical I'm going to test. And it's been ridiculously easy to get in touch with decision makers to find out their budgets, to learn. So don't worry, we're going to give you all those sales skills. And these are the sales skills that are going to help you for the rest of your life, anyways. Because the thing about ads is that those tactics come and go, they evolve. Sales skills are forever. So learn learn both. But again, if you don't have the money, don't do it unless you can. All right, no problem, brother. I appreciate all of you. Sorry for the little technical difficulties in the beginning. I will definitely work that out for the future, and we'll talk again.